Greetings. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Sorry for the delay there. Yeah. Fun world here. Let me get to my screens. There you go. Yeah, so I was trying to go on a low power mode because it's super cloudy here and it's nearing the end of the year. And so I was trying not to run this computer. I was trying to do the stream on the laptop. And since I upgraded the laptop last, I didn't test all functions of OBS. And it turns out the streaming capabilities was not working, although to my knowledge, the recording is, as I did do a video over there not too long ago. So I need to figure out why that laptop will not stream for me and figure that out, because I'd like to use that in the depth of the winter as our power goes down. I'll just have to run my engine, and thank you, Commodore Fan, for that $5. I'll use that for gas to charge my batteries back up. Because, yeah, you can possibly buy the type of generator I need. No, pretty much have to order them everywhere. And even then, it's hard to find it. So, anyway, looks like everybody's video is shut off to save bandwidth. That might be... level 1 text is right. I am just across the border from Eastern Kentucky. There is no internet there. Like, none. I'm looking at my prospects. I have to drive as fast as I can straight through Kentucky to get back to a place where I can use the internet. It'll be fun. So level 1 text is right. They are not exaggerating when they talk about having no access to internet down there. There is no access to internet down there. I looked, and I'm actually camping up on a mountain. I had to come into town to use the internet to do the stream today, and then I'm going to go back up tonight. And then I'm going to come back down to town tomorrow for the weekly news roundup, go up there for the rest of the weekend, and begin the interstate drive through Kentucky next week. So I am going to head south. I am going to head south through Knoxville. So I know there's a couple of viewers from over in Knoxville area. If you want to meet up, shoot me a message. So anyway, that's, I think, the direction we're going to be heading, and then I'll make my way down. We are going to cut the stream off at about 8, just because we have, I just need to get the big power sucking computer shut down as fast as I can. So we're going to do that, and then I'll figure out what's up with the video drivers later. So anyway, anybody have anything fun you want to mention before we get started?
Roll them.
Roll them. All right. Well, we had 2 different topics that we could have talked about today, and Ivan was the only one that jumped in when I was ready to do the show, and that was Windows, of course, is going to be end of life in less than a year. Was it October 25th, 2025, I believe, is when Windows 10 goes end of life. Of course, that was going to be the last version of Windows, wasn't it? That's what they told us. Yeah. So everyone bought their last forever computers, and then it was like, okay, I got my Windows 10, and they're like, nah, JK, we got Windows 11. It sucks. It's just about as bad as Vista. We crammed it full of AI nonsense for you, and it's just an absolute piece of nightmare trash, but... Anyway,
go ahead.
I remember they said that Windows 10 was the last version of Windows you will ever need.
Mm-hmm. Then they found that they could hit a new low.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Windows 11, they're like, yeah, we got some new security stuff in here. One of the things, they're like, the TPM, remember the TPM module is going to solve all our security stuff. Well, it took less than a decade for hackers to get around that. Probably took less than a year, really. And now they like, we have our new system. Nobody can get past this one. It's going to take them, another year maybe to get past it. That's the Proton, which Microsoft's statement on is it Proton? Protium? I don't know. We'll get to it. We'll get Pluton. Pluton it was. So this is a new type of processor they're building on top of your processor, starting with AMD's, I think, 6000, and then whatever Intel version. We'll see that when we get there. They're like, this is the TPN built into the processor. You just can't get past it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will. So anyway, obfuscation seems to be the best way to get around all this stuff. So switch to Linux, right? But
how many processor breaches we've had in the past that they've had to mitigate?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, these processor breaches are all over the place, and this one's in the processor. Nobody can get to it. Yeah, right.
And
get
soon
to
enough,
it.
that thing will be used to control your camera and like take photos of you.
Yeah, so basically all that does is it takes all of the components of the TPM module and it embeds it into the processor, so there's not a separate TPM chip. So, you know, if your whole motherboard goes bad or your processor goes bad, you're pretty much locked out of everything. Good luck. No upgrading your processors for you. Fortunately, you know, those might be one of the last things to go bad on a system. I don't know. You guys let me know how frequently a processor is going to go bad. Of course, this is an extra processor sitting on top of the processor, so we don't have a lot of perspective of that one.
Intel's 13th and 14th Gen ones are like really bad. They've had a lot of them burn up.
Which ones?
The 13th and 14th Gen Intel processors.
Oh, fun.
There's a big stink of that on them.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, a lot of RMAs.
Anyway, getting into our main topic here, we're going to start in with the first article here. Consumers won't be offered all 3 years of extended Windows 10 security updates. So remember, they floated this idea that there's going to be some updates inside of Windows that you can keep your system around a little bit longer, and the problem is that you will not be able to keep that system around a little bit longer if you are a private, just a basic home user or a single individual person, individual consumer. But you can get that for 1 year, and it's going to cost you $30. So will Windows keep working at that time? Yes. The problem is it will not have security patches, although Windows Defender is going to continue getting their virus definition upgrades until 2028. So Windows Defender is going to keep going for Windows 10 as far as the education and the commercial applications for security updates proceed, but home users will only be able to take advantage of the security updates for the core of Windows itself for 1 year, and then of course they want everybody over onto Windows 11. And so businesses, though, they have a cumulative price increase starting at $61 per machine for the first year. So if you have 10 machines and you just bought a bunch of machines and now they're telling you, well, you got to have Windows 11 now and your machines have to be upgraded, or you're like, okay, we just got our flow working on Windows 10, this is working for us. $61 per machine, you can get security updates for the first year. $122 for the second year, and $244 for the third year. But these are cumulative. If you say, well, we're just going to deal without security updates for the year one and then go into the year two security updates, you have to pay the 61 plus the 122 in order to get it. So they accumulate. So if you're running a business, you're going to have to pay that much per machine to keep these in service running Windows 10 if you don't upgrade to Windows 11. So that's not exciting. So that is what they're doing. Of course, education, obviously education's on a tighter budget. That endowment from Harvard University up in Boston, that could actually pay off the national debt if it wanted to. They don't have any money, so they can pay $1 for the first year, $2 for the second year, $4 for the fourth year. Now, of course, high schools don't have as much money. Little, small universities may not have much money. That's a good deal for them. But, these big universities with big endowments that are completely funded by our government, I'm sorry. Need to pay a little bit more, baby. Or just switch to Linux, So that is the end of Windows is coming. And so are you prepared for it? Are you going to have to jump to Windows 11, jump to Mac, or jump to Linux, or running an unsecured system? Anybody want to mention anything else about that?
I'm just going to say that they are supporting their operating system longer than many Linux distribution does, which have either 6 months or a year-long support cycle until the next version. And then,
except Debian, since
Debian and Linux Mint and Ubuntu, but
they've changed their things, because not long ago, I would say about 2 or 3 months ago, it was common knowledge that Windows for home users could get the first year for $30, the second year for $60, and a third year for $120, and then you're done.
Yeah, they don't want to do that anymore.
No, they just up and change their game whenever they feel like it. You know, it's like anything they say is don't stick to it because it's they say next October they're going to end it. It could be in the spring. Oh, in July we're going to discontinue Windows 10. Everybody's got to go to to 11.
Yeah, they just want
Alex.
as many adapters to Windows 11 as they can. And I have a Threadripper 1950X, which runs a Windows 10 virtual machine. And because the CPU is not marked as a second generation Ryzen or higher, I am blocked from getting the upgrade to Windows 11. But I find that kind of like a blessing in disguise, because now I'm going to try to move all my things to Linux completely. I was only keeping that virtual machine for very small stuff. I barely even power it on, like maybe once every 4 or 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
But now for the final like little things, I'll try to use Wine and whatnot and just completely get rid of Windows from my life.
One of the articles did have, it's the first article at the bottom here. They have an installation guide on getting Windows 11 installed on unsupported PCs. I don't know, I might try and do that with that Surface computer I have floating around. That might be fun to do, right?
There you go.
I could try to upgrade it forcefully, but I'd rather not.
Yeah, it's probably better if you can move off it.
Yeah.
Ivan, did you have anything to add?
Not really, but it did make me think, being like, for the company I used to work for, which happened to be a bank, and they're of the size, and I wouldn't put it past them, but they're of the size to be like, okay, well, you've got these 3 levels and stuff like that. How much money for us individually to not be affected on it,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want to deal with it until we absolutely have to. That's what I see of them doing. And I'm just like,
yeah, I think that's why they're doubling the cost to go on each year, because once you double the cost, you keep on doubling. It's kind of like the same thing that they pushed out with the Affordable Care Act that priced everybody out of getting health insurance. The first year penalty was only a couple $100. The second year penalty was twice that. The third year penalty was twice that. And it got to the point where they were like, okay, you're going to be paying a ton of money to the government that you don't have, or a ton of money to an insurance company you don't have. That's why that crap needs to be disbanded, because it's like, okay, it's like if a person can't afford health insurance, a penalty is not going to be affordable either. My health insurance went up 37% the day that stupid legislation came into effect, and I think Windows recognizes that, and so by continuing to go this up, keep on increasing the price of this, they might very well force businesses to purchase new systems. Of course, the challenge is that there's a bottom line in businesses, and if Microsoft and the computer companies are trying to scrape all the money out, they have less money to give to their employees in the form of raises or bonuses, or and some of these companies, sure, the CEO might be the one that takes the hit. I don't know. It depends on the size of the company.
They almost always pass this kind of thing down to the end person or the customer.
Yeah. So they could find the extra money by increasing their prices. There's some companies that they're under tight contracts and they can't. If you've done a 5-year contract with some entity, you can't just raise the prices willy-nilly. And so if you're like, well, we have another, $500 million of expenses for our computers, sorry guys, we just can't give bonuses this year because we have to divert that money to computers. And that's really what the problem is. Now, a lot of your big corporations do tend to treat their lower level employees worse, but your mid-level small businesses, they tend to treat their employees really well. And they would want nothing better than to give a really good bonus. But if they can't, because they have to divest all this money into buying computers when they just did it a few years ago, that's a deep frustration to them. So
yeah, not only is the requirement that you got to pay this money for Windows, it puts them in a trap, because you have to buy a PC that meets the requirements that Windows 11 wants.
Yeah,
that's additional money. So if you got a big law firm and they're on computers that are just under the minimum requirements, they have to refit the whole law firm with new computers to upgrade to Windows 11. And
yeah. And
this is not a very green move for Microsoft.
It's as black as hell. Yeah.
There's nothing green about Microsoft. They're the most energy consumption wasteful company there is.
Don't worry, they'll turn on 3 Mile Island so we can have another meltdown so AI can take over our lives.
It doesn't matter. We still have all this computer garbage that can still be used, but they deemed it obsolete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the problem. And like as an individual consumer, I can choose to keep running a Windows computer that's not up to date. But a business can't do that,
Right.
Like, if you're running a big law firm, to use the example you used, and you're like, well, we're just going to save money, we're just not going to update our computers, and then your system is hacked because of a breach, you're going to be slam-a-jamming in the courts.
Yeah, it's
let's get into anything else before we get into the last one. Let's look at their propaganda article to push us to Windows 11.
Okay.
All right. So here you go. So as we end support, it's October 14th. I'm sorry. I think I said October 25th. So we approach the end of support for Windows 10 on October 14th, 2025. We want to ensure that you are well prepared for the transition to Windows 11. I'd rather transition to a female, thank you. The milestone marks an important step in our mission to provide the most modern and secure computing experience possible to everybody, whether at work or school or at home. And our commitment to continually improving Windows security is part of Microsoft's Secure Future Initiative. Oh, look at that. They have a whole corporate vomit about that. We're incredibly grateful for your loyalty and passion for Windows 10. We're working hard to make it easy to move to Windows 11. People don't want it. That's the problem. So they want to cover the benefits of upgrading to Windows 11, checking if your current PC can be upgraded, resources for purchasing a new one. That's kind of fun. And then information on the purchase of extended security updates for organizations and individuals as well. So the benefits, of course, to switching to Windows 11. I mean, come on. Builds on the strengths and familiarities of Windows, offering you a modern, secure, and highly efficient computer experience that meets the demands for heightened security by design. By default, by design, with integrated enhanced security features, high customer satisfaction. Is there high customer satisfaction? I don't see any high customer satisfaction on Windows 11. I have not seen it. No. Literally, I've not seen it. Nobody's like, wow, this is so much better than Windows 10. I have not seen anybody talk about that.
Matter of fact, one of the articles was mentioning that there are still far more people on Windows 10 than there is even looking at Windows 11.
Yeah. Then, of course, they're talking about Copilot Plus PCs and all the AI nonsense. So Windows 11 features include even more secure by default. So modernizing Windows 11 provides a secure environment with advanced security features like TPM 2.0. Now, TPM 2.0 was in Windows 10, so this has not changed. Virtualization-based security. I don't know how if Windows 10 had virtualization-based security. I thought they did, but I could be wrong since I don't follow it. And vulnerable driver block list enabled by default, as well as smart app control, which is available with new installations. This basically blocks anything that's not an approved app that has been handing money under the table to Microsoft from running on your computer without taking some extra steps. Same thing that Mac does. If I wanted to download GIMP, for example, for Mac, and GIMP doesn't want to play Apple's games, they'd be like, oh, this is an untrusted app. No, I trust it just fine, actually. There's a couple settings to change. Windows is starting to do the same type of thing. So they say Windows 11 PCs are more secure. They reported 62% drop in security incidents. Now, I don't know if that's because the number of people on Windows 11 is much lower. I don't know how they're getting that statistics. You can manipulate numbers to get statistics. I don't know that Windows 11 computers are that much more secure than Windows 10 computers. If that was the case, everybody would be very quick to want to move to Windows 11. They say 3 times reported reduction in firmware attacks. At a premium price, Copilot PCs deliver even more protection, including memory-based integrity. And so that's what they say. Trusted Windows experience maintains familiar user experience in Windows 10 with a consistent layout and functionality. It is a little bit different, actually. Key elements like the start menu and taskbar have been updated for a cleaner look, but overall the navigation and usability remain intuitive and user-friendly. And optimized for speed and efficiency. Again, to what degree? Is it that much better? You guys have used Windows 10 versus Windows 11. Let me know. Basically, as everyone else had noticed, this post about this is mostly just a big marketing thing to drive to Windows 11. They say built-in accessibility features. I actually talked to somebody who does a lot of lobbying for accessibility in computers and stuff. He does use Windows a little bit, but he actually said Mac blows Windows away. Mac, he said, is the best. No, where did he say Windows? I think he said Mac was the best. Yeah, Mac was the absolute best for accessibility. He uses Windows because one of the tech devices that he's working on, which basically allows you to transmit your screen into a Braille layout, that is only supported under Windows. So he only uses Windows if he needs to work with that. So I don't know. I'll have to ask him if Windows 11 is better than 10 for that. And then, of course, Copilot, your AI companion that everybody uninstalled when it was pushed on their system. So they're talking here about the end of it. Of course, they talk about the advanced securities through TPM 2.0. That was a requirement for Windows 10, at least the modern incarnations. And then here is Microsoft Pluton security processor. This is where they're taking those TPM modules and putting them directly on the processor. Of course, in all of their stuff, they say it is impossible to access this. Just like it's impossible to access your Microsoft account because of your MFA. Oh, I'm sorry. That took them less than 6 months to crack, right? Hardware and software integration, say for app experience, that is, of course, blocking every app that doesn't come from your Windows store. And Windows Hello extended to protect your passkeys. Again, I don't know what changes they did because Windows 10, Windows Hello protects your passkeys as well. I don't know if this is significantly different or not. I don't know if any of you can speak to that. So before we get into the moving to Windows 11, anything fun about the marketing propaganda that anybody wanted to comment on?
Yeah, so you mentioned something about there being a place in like Microsoft site or something where they recommend places you buy stuff from. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so not only is Microsoft and all the hardware manufacturers are going to make money, but Microsoft is going to make even more money from places like Walmart or Best Buy and whatever they have in Europe and Asia, mm-hmm. that they will try to advertise on Microsoft's platform. Hey, buy stuff from our place, like.
Yeah, I didn't see if they had direct links over. No, actually there were. We're going to go through Pick Your PC because it is ridiculously stupid. I selected the lowest level computer I could possibly get, and they're still pushing me $1,500 laptops with Core i9 processors. Like, what? Go ahead, Salve.
Yeah, so about the hardware manufacturers is going to make money. That to be fair, that always happens whenever Microsoft releases a new version of Windows, because as the years go by, every small piece of every software gets a little bigger in each iteration and each version. So it's no wonder that when Microsoft after several years actually releases a new version, the hardware requirements are going to be higher as a necessity. Mm-hmm.
The game industry kind of does the same things by making games that are much larger but have more realistic graphics to it. So you're forced to go from your existing graphics card up to one that costs about $400 more than you paid for the one before it or more to get that really nice picture.
Yeah, I do want to mention one thing I forgot to mention regarding the Pluton. The only manufacturer that is not using anything with Pluton is Dell, because Dell actually said that the way they're implementing it, it violates their standards for repairability on computers, because, you know, there's statement Dell has made about Pluton, and they said they're not implementing this. Everybody else is on top of it, you know. All right, so here's how to move to Windows 11. It's quite simple. First, check if your PC can be upgraded. Of course, even if PCs can, they're going to tell you it can't because they want another sale. Yeah. It's all about moving the economy at your expense. Put that thing on the credit card, pleb. Buy a new computer. All right. Windows 10 PCs will receive new in-product notifications to educate you about Windows 10. So you're going to get full screen overlays reminding you your computer's about to die. You know, aren't we looking forward to that? Reduce downtime to ensure your personal files and settings applications are securely moved from Windows 10 to 11 exactly as you need them saved with Windows Backup. There's OneDrive for off-drive things. And then here's where we get purchasing new PCs. We are talking about the Copilot Plus PCs on Windows 11. At every price, we invite you to see what's new from brands like Acer, Asus, Dell, HP, Lenovo, etc. And then we're going to open up this Help Me Choose because that's fun. And then when you're ready to purchase new 11, we continue to leverage trade-in and recycling programs. All right. So OEMs such as Acer, Asus, Dell, etc., and global carriers like Best Buy, etc., have these programs available where you can recycle your stuff. The problem is you're not getting, it's not like trading in a car where you go and you say, okay, that car's worth like $5,000. We'll give you like $3,000 for it so we can turn around and make a little bit of profit reselling it. We're going to take that off the price of your car. Phones, you can do that, right? You can go into the store, like, okay, I have my last year's model iPhone. I want to trade this in and send my payments for another 5 years so I can buy the brand new latest one, even though this one's perfectly fine. And you can get a discount off of your phone for it. There isn't a program for this. I go to Best Buy's, right? Because I'm like, okay, Best Buy, this is a brand I'm familiar with. Best Buy, you can take your computer and pay Best Buy $30. They'll properly recycle your computer. But Best Buy, they're like, well, we don't really want you to be out. So they're going to give you a $30 gift certificate to be used in the store. So you can take your perfectly fine working Windows 10 computer that just won't upgrade to 11. You can take it to Best Buy. You can hand your computer to Best Buy, and you're going to pay $30 to recycle your perfectly good computer, but they're going to give you a $30 gift certificate that you can apply to your brand new $1,000 computer. This is not a trade-in program.
I found 2 or 3 scrap yards around here that actually will take lithium-ion batteries, computers, and all kinds of stuff, old wiring and cables.
Yep. Do they charge, or do they pay, or is it just will take
It's free.
Just free. So you're not getting anything, but you're not giving anything.
All it costs you is the gas to drive your junk there and unload it.
Yep.
They have bins for all of it, and then they have people that actually purchase what's in the bins to recycle or take apart and reclaim the gold and silver and all that junk.
All right. So this is fun. Let's choose a PC, shall we? Let's go ahead and choose a PC. I want a computer that is just the basics, nothing else. All right. Just the basics. How would you describe your workload? Let's say it's very light. How would you describe your web browsing? Very light. How would you describe your photo or editing? I'm going to pick intermediate to advanced. Let's pick beginner. Let's go with beginner. I'm just going to go as basic. This one here, is it like a laptop or not? Anywhere I'm connected? All right. So it's a laptop where it's moving around. I need things. Am I on my PC? Okay. Let's see. So what's the most important thing you're looking for? Large screens, interactive screens, portability, performance, security. I'm not sure yet. Let's just pick portability. And this is what they recommend. Okay, this one here, I just changing one factor, it dropped me down into i3s. Okay, that's totally baffling to me. The one factor I changed on that. Dude, they did something crazy. I can't go back. The one thing I changed on this from when I did my first test is I went from... Okay, there you go. It's actually, they're using variables to decide where your results are. Okay, let me do just the basics. Light. I think the only thing that I did differently is the photo editing skills. I think that's what I did differently. Yeah, so this one here, they're recommending an i7 or greater. So my new computer price is the lowest one is $1,200.
Oh, my word.
And let me remind you, with Best Buy or Walmart or stuff, you're not getting this year's model PC. You're usually getting last year's model.
Yeah. Which honestly, to me, I don't really care, personally. But you can buy the components in the latest releases, however. So even if you're doing just kind of basic stuff, they're still trying to sell you the latest and greatest. Of course, just changing that one factor in there, cutting it down to an i3. I wouldn't recommend an i3 for anybody. That's the crappiest processor ever. Maybe if you're running Linux on a MX Linux or something super duper light, but the i3 processor sucks.
Well, to be fair, the latest i3s like the 14, 15 gen are like 8-core E-core CPUs.
I think they're 4 cores.
I don't know.
They used to be 4 cores. Yeah, I believe now they are 8.
Well, back when I had used and recommended i3s, they were only 2 cores. So,
Yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah, they just got out of the dual range.
Yeah.
I was looking at some single board computers, particularly Odroid H4 Ultra, and that had an 8-core i3 with only E-cores. And I was like, what? Yeah.
Interesting. All right, so the last thing after seeing all of the grand propaganda, let's move into the last topic here, switching to Linux. Of course, some people might have a fear or intimidation switching to Linux. We did the video yesterday about overcoming that fear, just some basic things to think about. You know, you're not going to, as long as you have a backup of your files, you're not going to catastrophically mess things up. But you should start testing it now. And I never recommend a cold turkey approach. I don't know if any of you guys did a cold turkey approach, but I don't recommend that. I recommend slowly building into it, seeing what it can do, but taking some dedicated time to tinker around with it, see what types of stuff you can do. Did anybody here go cold turkey?
They can do what I did. So I used several years on this. So I installed Linux on a new computer that I got, so another system. So I had my Windows 2000, which was the brand new thing at the time, and then I had Linux on another system, and that way I could still use my Windows system in order to browse and surf and do. And then I gradually moved my workflow over to Linux over a period of 7 years, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, when I switched, I was a somewhat advanced Linux user, so I installed Linux on my main computer, and inside it I was running a KVM virtual machine with Windows, and I was using Windows for whatever I needed. But now that Microsoft will basically obsolete a bunch of laptops, and they will advertise, oh, your laptop won't be getting updates, you should throw it away and like buy a new one. A lot of people will do that, so there'll be a lot of excess older computers that you can buy for like $30. Yeah, you can offer someone like $30 instead of having them sell it to Best Buy or like taking it to Best Buy. Just buy the old computers for $30 and then install Linux on that. And you'll just use 2 computers if you really need to, but you'll probably notice that the old one, quote unquote, running Linux is probably a lot snappier than whatever else you're getting with Windows 11.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you're on Windows 10 and you're thinking about going to 11, here's some things that might sour your stomach. You can download a tool. It's called PC Health Checker from the Microsoft Windows Creators website. And you install it in your Windows 10 or your Windows 11 if you already have it installed, and you got around all the security junk. You hit the button, and there's a button that says check now. You click on the button, and then it'll show you the results. They'll say show you the results, and then it'll have a checklist down the side for TPM 2.0. This PC supports Secure Boot. This processor is supported by Microsoft 11. And there's at least 4 gigabytes of system memory for system memory. Now, I have this built in a virtual machine now, so I can turn any of these parameters off. The only one I don't think I can fool is the processor one, because it uses the processor that you're currently on. But if you like, I have TPM 2.0 disabled, and I have the workaround installed for it. But if I go and turn the workaround off and then run this check again, it'll go boom, 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 boom. And then the tool will actually direct you to Microsoft's website to create a Windows account. a Microsoft account.
Nice.
If you have one, it says please log in.
We need a Windows account, everybody.
So that's what you get if you do that route and you're curious.
Fascinating. Which distros do we recommend we start with?
Definitely Linux Mint. As I stopped,
I was going to
probably
say,
the easiest.
Yeah.
I started with Mint and hopped around everything else, and I came back. I'm actually a Debian person, so I don't even use Mint. I just go for the Debian or the LMDE type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For the really old computers I got here that are 10 plus years old, I use Peppermint on them with XFCE, and they work great too.
Salbe, what do you say? I know you're not a Mint guy.
No, but for new users, I always recommend always install Mint on their system.
Okay. Mint as well.
In my case, it's because it's easy to use and it has the OEM install option, which is the main reason that I'm using that one for other users.
Yeah. So Linux Mint is really good. I like Linux Mint. I like MX Linux is good. I personally use Endeavor, although I'm not sure I'd recommend an Arch-based system for a new user necessarily, especially since Endeavor doesn't have a package manager by default.
And also Mint has the FlatHub pre-configured by default. You just have to activate it, I think.
But if you do Ubuntu, you could do snaps.
For 10 plus old year.
Blasphemer.
Yeah.
10 plus old year computers, I'd still recommend Linux Mint, but with probably XFCE or maybe Mate. But there's the one thing that the Lubuntu team does well is that I believe they kind of remove snaps and a lot of other Ubuntu bloat. So if I were to recommend a Ubuntu distribution, I'd probably recommend like Lubuntu, well, not Ubuntu flavor.
Yeah, I'll have to check if they still do that, because Ubuntu came out, it's like you've got to use Snap.
All the Lubuntu flavors must use Snap, so they can't be, sanctioned by them. I
don't know. But I should download the latest Lubuntu and see what they're actually doing, because I remember them not having snaps for a while, like you said, but I also remember then after that there was like an Ubuntu shakedown, be like, you've got to use snaps. So I don't know. I'll have to look into it.
Use snaps or we'll snap you.
That's right. You're not using snaps, you will be snapped.
I would
for the people.
I would say if you're a Windows user, the Cinnamon desktop is going to be the most one you're going to be familiar with.
Yeah.
The GNOME desktop is going to feel more like a tabletware than it is a desktop.
Yeah. Plasma also has a decent layout like Windows as well. So if you are looking for that layout, something with Plasma would also work. Must place it Salbu here, but but Plasma can be nice as well. So even that 6.2 once a year push for donations.
XFCE is very lightweight, but it's very limited. There's a lot of things it will not do.
Yep.
By the way, I see a flaw in this. I just took the help me choose just to see what it would recommend to me, and it's they are making on. There's a flaw in the selector in that. Everything that they recommend, it's always a laptop, even when you have selected that you are only doing stuff at your desk. So there should be at least a desktop option, but oh well.
Yep.
But, so I'm going to see family, heavy use, intermediate to advanced.
Try
always
gamer.
At my desk, on my PC, and I don't know, what should I do for this one? Let's just do performance. All right.
Video
Even
editing.
This is like a slightly smaller computer than they're telling me that. And yeah, everything they are recommending. It is. It does look like a laptop. Let me get this picture. Yep. Everything they are recommending is. I want to use it exclusively on my desktop. Here, have this laptop. Great. Thank you. All right. That last point I had, we're going to try and make this like 5 minutes so we can do 5 minutes of comments. Sorry, we can't get to everybody's comments today, but for power considerations, especially since we want to do a weekly news roundup tomorrow, which will suck a lot of juice, and it's going to be a cloudy day again tomorrow. We got to cut our power rack when we can. So how do we start trying Linux? I like the cold turkey approach. I like a secondary computer or an external hard drive that we have Linux installed on that we can play around with it without interfering with our current workflow so we can get used to it. What do you guys say?
I agree with that approach.
I like the get a second apartment approach, so you can go out and cheat with Linux.
Yeah, there you go.
And
naughty.
Play around with it little, because Linux will do a lot of things Windows won't. You can actually take some of your Windows with you and build a Windows virtual machine and do some of the Windows stuff you used to do in Windows on Linux with a virtual machine.
Mm-hmm.
But
Ivan, your pineapple died. Did you just put new batteries?
No,
in
I shut it off because I changed the batteries today, and it's excessively bright, and I wanted the blue to stand out. Right. Doing a Windows topic tonight.
There will be a learning curve when you move over to Linux to applications that do about the same thing as the Windows ones do, but there's Linux ones and they're named differently, so you'll have to figure those out. If you have some of the older Windows programs, Play on Linux, I have like 4 programs I have that run on Wine through Play on Linux. You start learning these things and you have to go through a learning curve. It's like moving out of the one apartment while still having your new apartment, and you're slowly, carrying your junk over there, and until you fully learn how to use everything. And you don't have to learn how to use the command line right off the bat either. And even me, I only know a handful of limited commands that are really necessary if you need them in a pinch, and that's about it.
Yeah, today's Linux desktop is nothing like from 20 some odd years ago when everything was command line, because all I can imagine is people going, oh well, Linux, that's only for smart people, that you have to type in everything. No, it's not true, and it hasn't been like that for a while now.
I might be an elitist, but I really like the terminal and doing things in the terminal.
I do too. I have on my 2 main desktops. I have 6 terminals open on both systems.
Yeah. I like it as well, because when I do something then actually, and it works right off the bat, I'm like, oh, look at what I did.
Yeah, as you start using Linux, the terminal is less frightening, and you're like, oh, that's kind of fun.
Yeah. But to Alex's point, so in the last 10 years, at least, using the terminal has not been a requirement. But when you are searching on the internet for how do I fix this and that, in 90% of cases they are going to recommend a command that you use, and the reason is that in the terminal, there are 2 or 3 types of distributions. There are the Debian-based distributions, and there are the Red Hat-based distributions. And so the commands that you need to run in order to configure things is different slightly. But when you have a Debian-based, and all the underlying commands are the same, which is why they recommend you using a command, because it will always work.
Yeah, so I was about to say that as someone who used to both offer tech support and try to train people, the easiest thing to give them was just copy paste those commands, like literally copy and paste. Instead of having to guide people. I used to guide people in Windows and press that button there. No, it's not that button, it's the one right next to it. No, go to that icon. Yeah, it's like a red icon. Yeah, click on that. And then right click on that thing while holding down shift, and all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to have to deal with that with an end user.
Yeah. Linux makes it so much easier.
Gaming on Linux is getting to be really good if you buy the right hardware for it. You need good hardware to game on Linux, just like you do on Windows. I would recommend either using Linux Mint, Debian. A lot of people, the advanced gamers like Arch, if you can stomach Arch, but you're safer with Debian because it doesn't break. It rarely breaks. I think once a year I get Debian that breaks, I got to fix it, and that's it. But Steam has done a great job giving their support through Valve and stuff of making the Steam client where you can get games from their store and install them easily. And they have a place called Proton DB where you can actually go and look at other people's hardware and certain commands in the Steam launch command line to launch your game. Each game's got a command line launch thing with just a few parameters in it. Usually it's, some tweaks or it's just simply command % and you leave that in there and it launches the game with no parameters. But Proton DB, you can go and put your game in there that you want to are thinking about buying and see. It'll show you who people that have put entries in there, their hardware and what they had to do to put their game, or if they couldn't get their game in this hardware to work at all. I'm finding more and more AMD users are having a harder time getting their games to run perfectly than NVIDIA's are. The thing is flipping.
Yeah.
Because the NVIDIA drivers now have some Wayland support in them. And
the only thing that's almost guaranteed not to work on Linux is games with anti-cheat of some sort.
And you have games like that are from the Epic Store and stuff like that are not part of Valve and they won't share their stuff with Valve. You're going to have to figure out if you can get them away from the Epic Store in any way, which probably not. They're probably tied to the Epic launcher in Windows, and that's all you're going to. You won't be able to play them games.
Aside from gaming, most of the things that people do daily are really easily done on Linux, particularly Linux Mint. You don't even need to interact with the terminal. You don't need to do a lot of stuff. Just open a browser and just do your thing. That's why a lot of people are able to use Chromebooks successfully, which is weird coming from me when I'm seeing that, but I do understand how they're doing it. And yeah, Linux is just a bit better because you have the option to run stuff locally as well and take back control, which is probably one of the more important things when switching to Linux.
That's
and there's also another aspect that I keep coming back to every now and again when we talk about these things. So when people are who are wanting to try Linux and they don't really know what to choose or why they should choose this or the other, like Mint over Arch and so on. If you know someone who is using Linux, you have a family member or you have a friend or a colleague or something, a coworker, ask them what they recommend you do, because they have in their best interest to help you choose something good. And if in many cases they would recommend what they are using themselves, which is a good thing because when you do need help, they immediately know you need to go this and there, and they don't have to do much research in order to help you get things going.
Yeah,
that's some very sound advice.
Yeah, that's one of the best tips is find somebody. That's why I included that tip on the video yesterday is see if there's somebody in your local community that can sit down with you. Linux isn't that hard. But for a person that's not as comfortable with computers, having somebody sitting right next to you when you're trying to do stuff is always a good thing to do.
Yeah, Linux, for me, like I go back and look at Windows 11 because I have a build in the virtual machine that I like to stick needles in it and stuff, and kind of torture
what do you think,
it.
as Voodoo Doll? You have a Voodoo Doll Windows?
Yeah.
No,
I actually watch people like, Cyber CPU Tech and people like that, the other Linux channels or Windows channels, just to see how they're doing to make Windows so you don't need a Windows account. So you can run it without a TPM and stuff like that. You know, so I'm kind of like using their information to backwash on something I no longer know anything about because I'm all Linux dude now. The Windows stuff is kind of faded away.
Yeah, and that's like, and then the greatest thing about that is when someone's like, "Can you help me do this?" If it Windows, no, I've lost it. I don't know. Can't help you anymore.
But, you know.
All right. We have reached our 8 o'clock timeline, so we're going to have to jump off now. Thank you guys for coming on and chatting. Sorry we did not get to your chats today, but I have a hard cutoff here at 8, so we can conserve as much power for tomorrow's weekly news roundup. Of course, if you are a channel supporter, we will stay on the supporters call for a little bit. So if you want to jump on there off air, we can hang out here. We'll cover news. And I have about an hour to an hour and a half before I need to leave this parking lot before people start getting suspicious about this crazy FBI surveillance van hanging out in the parking lot into the wee hours of the night. But I'll be here till like 9:30. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 o'clock weekly news roundup. Of course, on the Christian channel tonight, we have a 9 o'clock. We're covering the second vision in Zechariah 5, the woman in the basket. And that is going live on all 3 platforms, Odyssey, YouTube, and Rumble, all at 9 o'clock today simultaneously. So you can jump on over there, find the links on that channel at Our Walk in Christ. With that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.